Can't have McQueen without having Matty McQueen, Matt George, host of the Lock on Kings podcast, and of course of ABC 10. Matt, let's start with today, and we'll work backwards. Kevin Huerter, a name we've long talked about, a long name we thought we might be linked to John Collins, but in fact was traded on his own. What do you think of that addition?
All right, so here's the deal. Almost all of Kingsland is unanimously happy about this move, and that can't happen. We can't all be on the same page. So I'm going to take the pessimistic route and say that this is a terrible trade for – no, absolutely not. This is a phenomenal trade for Monty McNair and the Sacramento Kings. I mean, we talk about a team that after trading Buddy Hield and the moves that they made at the trade deadline, just decimating their shooting, to now bringing in over 48 hours, less than that really, bringing in two 40+% 3-point shooters. I think I was reading a tweet by Brendan Nunez. He put out that Kevin Huerter is like a 41 or 42% catch and shoot 3-point shooter on 4 catch and shoot attempts per game last season. Like, that fits in perfectly with what the Sacramento Kings are doing. I have 2 major questions, and I'm sure these are going to be answered over time. I would absolutely, I can't wait we're not going to get the access during training camp that we got at this first summer league practice, because they brought us in at the beginning of practice and we got to watch the whole damn thing, and it was fantastic. I wish they would give us that opportunity in training camp, because I desperately want to see the position battles in training camp. Because my first question is, who's their starting 2 guard? I thought it was going to be Malik Monk. Now, in my mind, it almost has to be Kevin Huerter, although Huerter is capable of playing the 3 if you really want to go small and kind of play versatile if you want to. That's question number 1. Question number 2 is always defense, and I don't know who the Kings could have brought in that would have answered that question, but I love this for the Sacramento Kings. I think this is a phenomenal day. Monty McNair is proving that he's anything but passive, and what I like is that he has improved this roster without making that knee-jerk, future-sacrificing swing that I know Kings fans were worried about when they heard rumblings of a playoff mandate. So I applaud Monty and the Kings front office. I think they've had a fantastic offseason so far.
Monty told you, Matt, and I think it was you specifically.
It was me.
No playoff mandate.
Okay.
No playoff mandate, except from me. And if they listen and they know how I feel, there was definitely a playoff mandate. When you talk about,
I'm waiting for the day that Monty drops that in a press conference. Look, there's no playoff mandate except from KC. That's it.
All. That's all, Monty. You know what it is. I'm very clear with the
eBay over there at ESPN.
Well, hold on. Everybody thought that the playoff mandate was coming from someone sitting courtside. Kenny Caraway only sits courtside, so maybe the mandate came from Kenny in the first place.
Matt George on point. Hey
man, as long as they know what's expected, you know what I mean. It ain't nothing changed. You better make the playoffs this year. But you talk about the shooting, and I love that aspect of it. Kevin Huerter, you laid out some of the numbers right there. Malik Monk, 39% from 3. We had stats yesterday that when he's playing 25 or more minutes in a game, that 3-point percentage goes up to 42.3% on 7 attempts. And then we can't even forget, we're getting video, and we don't know if he'll be here this year or not. But the young fella, Sasha. Vezenkov, I mean, the guy out here stroking it left and right in the FIBA World Championship. So, or FIBA World Cup, excuse me. So, I mean, I really like what Monty's done. He's put shooting around Sabonis and Fox, which is something that we've been talking about endlessly for months now at this point. He went out and got it done, and I'm interested and anxious. And we can't even forget Keegan Murray. We're talking about putting shooting around him. Still got Keegan Murray out there as well. I can't wait to see what this looks like. I'm not sure what it's going to amount to, but I want to see what it looks like.
I wish I could hit the fast forward button to October. Hell, I'll take jumping forward to see just what the Kings schedule is so we can start daydreaming about what the start of the season is going to look like. As always, this team was going to go as far as De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis took them, and it's still very much on the 2 of them to be so good that these weapons around them have. Like, Kevin Huerter should have multiple open 3s a game. Malik Monk should have multiple open 3s a game, or you should be taking advantage of the fact that defenses have to respect their perimeter shooting so much that it gives you the extra space to be the star that we know you're capable of being. I'm talking about both Fox and Sabonis there. And what I really love about these compilations of moves, Kenny, is the fact that, like, if you talk about like a dream scenario for Mike Brown has versatility now. I mean, Mike Brown can do a lot of different things with this roster at this point in time. And I don't know if the Sacramento Kings are done. I mean, the Kings still have time. I don't know necessarily if they have caps. I mean, their space isn't exactly huge, and I don't think they're making any major swings left at this point in time. But I mean, the Kings have a lot of options where they can run Fox and Mitchell together, and both of those guys are capable of having the ball in their hands or playing off the ball. You can have Huerter play at the 3, Huerter play at the 2, Malik Monk play at the 2, Monk play at the 3, Terrence Davis can play both those positions. Keegan Murray can play 3 through 5. If he's playing the 5, he's playing really, really small at that point in time. You could play Sabonis at the 4 or the 5. If Rashawn Holmes, you want to get a look at Rashawn and Sabonis out there at the same time. Like, if nothing else, Mike Brown is going to have a lineup that he can do things with. But my caveat to that, and this is something that you guys, I think, were talking about yesterday, D'Lo, you pointed this out. As great as it is to have a versatile lineup where you can put a lot of different options out there and mix and match your lineups and your pairings, by game 1, hell, by the end of training camp, I want to see an established starting lineup with this team that is consistent through the entire season. And not just that, the players who are coming off the bench, even if there are opportunities, like Davion Mitchell, for example, I expect Davion Mitchell to be the 6th man of this team. He's probably going to get starting opportunities if just over the course of the season, someone arrests or someone gets hurt or anything like that. I want him to know what his role is clearly defined when he's on the floor, whether he's a starter or a bench player. And I think Mike Brown hopefully will know how to establish that.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, because I'm seeing this question come up in the chat a lot. We've questioned about Monty McNair's, potential extension. And I've long proposed, like, maybe Monty said, just hang on. Like, maybe we all think that Vivek didn't offer the extension, whereas there could have been talks and Monty could have just said, hang on, let me work, let me cook. Man, if you're Monty McNair, can you walk into Vivek's office today and want to talk about an extension today?
You know what I'm doing? If I'm Monty McNair, I'm walking in with the Money in the Bank briefcase. That's what I'm doing.
Cash it in.
I'm just slapping that on the table and saying, pay me.
Seth Rollins WrestleMania might be time to cash it in. It's not a bad idea. Like, taking all the humor out of it, the overall question has kind of come back to the same thing. Do you think this is enough for Monty to get an extension? And we'll take another question that's popped up. Do you think Monty McNair gets an extension before the season starts?
I hope he gets an extension before the season starts. I already thought Monty, you know how big of a fan I was of the Keegan Murray draft pick. I thought Monty had already done enough to get an extension because I was under the belief that what good does it do you to take Monty out of that position, bring in someone new now that you have Mike Brown here and to start this process all over again? Like, even before these moves were made, I thought extending Monty was the absolute right play. Now it's a no-brainer. I mean, Monty McNair has made the best moves for the Sacramento Kings. We haven't seen it play out on the floor yet, but I haven't seen as polished offseason as this, or at least as a cohesive offseason as this since Jeff Petrie was here. Like, it's been that long. So, I mean, to me, I don't know why you would even consider not extending Monty McNair at this point. I think he absolutely has proven that he's capable of doing this job. Kenny, you said you're not going to call him passive anymore. Rightfully so. I mean, the first couple of off seasons, he kind of sat in his hands a little bit too much. We'd argue that the biggest mistake that he made was not making the Luke Walton decision earlier. Now he's made a decision with his head coach, brought in Mike Brown, who we all like, and is now giving Mike Brown a roster to work with and surrounding his players with clear fit pieces that benefit those stars. Like, to me, Monty's checking all the boxes.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that you said initially was, and it's not, I don't look at it as this huge deal, arguing back and forth, but you talked about now you feel like the starting 2 guard is going to be Kevin Huerter. I disagree.
Okay.
I think and it's just me reading the tea leaves. You talk to Malik Monk, you tell him, you're coming here, we want you to be the starting 2 guard, and you're gonna play in the same backcourt as De'Aaron Fox. And you don't, if you get I don't know, some superstar 2 guard in here, then Malik, you'll be like, hey, things changed. All right. You're not the starting 2 guard anymore. Mm-hmm. But Kevin Huerter isn't that. And I think that you don't mess up the vibes of Fox and Monk. and you have Huerter coming off the bench as your scorer off the bench. I don't like Huerter. Huerter is just as good as Malik Monk. There's no real reason to start him. Like, it's not like he's head and shoulders better than Malik Monk. So
yeah, I wouldn't say
put him back there with Fox.
I wouldn't say he's head and shoulders better, but I do believe he's better. And I understand what you're saying about the vibes of a Fox Monk backcourt, but we got to remember these guys played together 1 year. Like, they played 1 year together in college, and then they haven't played together in 5 years since. So I understand. I like the vibes too I see the highlights. I like the idea of the Kentucky Wildcats reincarnated here, swapping the blue for the purple and seeing how that chemistry can build on the floor. And I hear that argument completely. I think Kevin Huerter has had a significantly better NBA career than Malik Monk has to this point. Monk has kind of been a journeyman. He's bounced around a little bit, did not live up to the expectations in Charlotte. And Kevin Huerter has been a really solid piece for the Atlanta Hawks basically his entire career. Now, is Kevin Huerter the reason why Atlanta was making the playoffs runs that they were? No, but I think Kevin Huerter was, if I'm not mistaken, a very solid starter on that team for years. So I think it makes more sense to me personally. It makes more sense to bring Huerter in here and start him and bring Malik Monk off the bench if that is your 2-guard race. You could also, again, look at the idea of starting Huerter at the 3, moving Barnes to the 4, and not rushing Keegan Murray into the starting lineup if you don't want to, which I'm kind of against that a little bit. But like I said, Brown is going to have those options. So I'm okay with if Monk beats Huerter out in training camp and is a starting 2-guard on opening night, I'm thrilled with it. I think it's a great problem to have. But as of right now, if I'm making the argument just based off of what I've seen so far in their NBA careers, Kevin Huerter is the starter to me.
Real quick with that, Dame, and this, I see a lot of people that feel the same way as Matt George. Traditional stats, traditional metrics. Malik Monk beats him in every category.
Okay.
So, I mean, shooting percentage, 3-point percentage, points per games, all this other stuff. Malik Monk, this past season, is higher than Kevin Huerter, than anything Kevin Huerter did last year. So there's that.
I think there's also not an issue with having a battle for the position.
I think it's great.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's wonderful.
I think Malik Monk is, we talked about this yesterday. Malik Monk he's locked in. Like, I absolutely believe he is locked in, and he was looking at, this is my opportunity to make, generational money in the National Basketball Association. And it starts right now. I didn't get the big rookie extension. I've kind of fallen short. I can rehab my entire career and start it here in Sacramento and potentially even continue it here in Sacramento. But like his trek to being an upper echelon player and, making the kind of money that I'm certain he wants to, it begins right now. So I think he's going to be really motivated to come in here and be great.
I 100% agree. And don't forget Davion Mitchell, who's probably going, whoa, guys, I'm still here too. And that's my spot. Like, I think Davion thinks that I don't necessarily think he's going to get it. I think Davion is more than likely the backup point guard because the Kings literally don't have anything else on the roster at that spot at this point in time. And they probably need to look at the idea of adding a third string primary ball handler just in case. But like, the way that Davion Mitchell was playing at the end of last season was his way of making a statement of, look, I'm good enough to start on this team. I'm good enough to start on a good basketball team. So, like, as much as it's going to be a battle between Monk and Huerter, absolutely, Davion Mitchell's going to throw his name into that hat. I guarantee you, if Terrence Davis is still here, TD's going to have a chip on his shoulder and something to prove as well. Although Davis, I don't hate the idea of Davis being your backup 3 either. So, like I said, it's a great problem for Monty McNair, for Mike Brown, for the Kings to have, as long as it's not a problem once the season starts, if that makes sense.
I think we're forgetting someone else. Terrence Davis, how do you feel about the Kevin Huerter trade?
Is that, I don't know. Is that a trick question?
That's all right. We can talk about it later, Terrence. It's cool.
That's my boy too. TD, he's still got a role on this squad, man. I like Terrence Davis and what he can bring to the table. Let me run something else past both of you guys, though. Something I thought about. Matt, I'd like to know what you think about this. The other reason why I like this Huerter deal is, well, first of all, you didn't give up much of anything for it. You didn't give up the 2023 pick. There's no protections on that or anything like that. That's clear and dry as far as what I've seen. I think it starts in 2024.
It does.
So that's a great deal. The other thing about this is I feel like it gives you a little bit of insurance and a little bit of cushion and leeway with what you want to do with Harrison Barnes. And this is something that me and Damien have talked about a number of different times before this deal. If you're kind of in a conundrum where if you don't move Harrison Barnes right now, it's like, ooh, we're kind of locked into him being here all year. What happens if we're good? Do we hold on to him? Do we trade him and try to get something for him because we're not sure if he's going to be there next year or whatever? It's just a whole mess. Right now, we're getting Kevin Huerter, 6'7" wing guy. You can bring Harrison Barnes back. You can play that scenario out however you want to, because you have worst case scenario. Barnes plays this year. He decides to leave in free agency next year. You got Kevin Huerter ready to step into that spot. And that's before you do anything in free agent. Maybe you go get a free agent or you trade somebody in the offseason. But you're not just completely, for a lack of a better term, ass out when it comes to Harrison Barnes and what he can do. You've got Kevin Huerter right there to step in if you lose him for absolutely nothing.
I think it's very well said, Kenny. Absolutely very well said. Look, to me, the idea of trading Harrison Barnes was only going to be the only way you're moving Harrison Barnes is if you're getting such a splash in return that even if it's not at HB's position, it's a clear, okay, this is a good player, a really, really good player now that also brings you some longevity, right? That's why kind of the John Collins thing made sense. And there was an argument as to whether John Collins would have been the right guy here in Sacramento. Understand that argument completely, but you're getting a solid player that you have contractual control over, trading away Harrison Barnes for that. I've always said, I think it's extremely difficult for any team, not just the Kings, to replace Harrison Barnes. So if Monty's plan is to ride out this year with Barnes and hope that the team is good enough to convince him to re-sign for a couple more years, then I'm genuinely okay with that plan. I don't think Harrison Barnes is irreplaceable by any means. To your point about Kevin Huerter could potentially be the guy to plug into that spot temporarily. Maybe the Kings explore what they could do at the trade deadline with Harrison Barnes, confident that Huerter can hold that position down, and maybe they can get another kind of win now talent value at the deadline to push them maybe out of the play-in and actually into the playoffs. Maybe that's the plan. I don't know. It gives them options. But I think Harrison Barnes is a fantastic piece for the Sacramento Kings. He continues to be a fantastic piece for the Sacramento Kings. He's clearly a leader here in Sacramento. And if Monty wants to hold on to hope that he and his team this year can do enough to get Harrison Barnes to re-sign, I don't think that's a bad strategy.
This is going to come across as shade, but why do you think Harrison is a leader? He's a leader in the community of Sacramento. I feel like this team, and I don't even know that this has been addressed yet. I feel like the team is still kind of leaderless.
I do hear that.
Leader. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I would. I mean, I don't look at Harrison Barnes' leadership the same way I'd look at maybe like a Draymond Green or Marcus Smart enforcer leadership, right? Mm-hmm. Harrison Barnes is routinely referenced by his teammates as someone who they go to ask questions. Mm-hmm. He gives advice. He speaks up, especially in practice scenarios. We've heard that a lot. And I also look at Harrison Barnes' leadership as he's the guy that's constantly thrown to the wolves and put into the podium after the Kings got their ass kicked by 20, 30 points. It was Harrison that had to step out, and he was the one that was saying the right things, even if he was repeating himself. I think Harrison Barnes absolutely is a leader by example. He's not the vocal enforcer leader. Neither is like a De'Aaron Fox. He's more of a leader by example. But if there's a more respected guy in that locker room, I want to know who it is, because I think HB is that guy.
Well, I wasn't talking about respect.
No, you're right.
I wasn't talking about respect. You just used the leader, and I wanted you to define that a little bit, which you absolutely did. And I love your point about Harrison, because Kenny and I, we constantly, what do you want in exchange for Harrison Barnes? And we always come back to, well, Harrison Barnes. That's what we want in exchange for Harrison Barnes. And I don't know who that is or what it is.
You want a younger Harrison Barnes with 2 more years on his deal. That's what you want.
Yeah. And it's like, well, I don't know that exists. So if you've got to, again, one thing we know about Monty, he'll let you walk. He let Bogey walk. He'll let Dante walk. So if I'm not sold on the idea that, like, if Harrison starts the season as a Sacramento King, we've just got to operate under the thought that he's going to be traded by February. It's like, no, if Harrison starts the season and the Kings are in a good position in February, let it ride and do what you've done the last 2 years. Just let somebody walk.
This is where I continue to go down your rabbit hole of thinking, D'Lo, is if Monty has the the cojones to be able to say, hey, hold off on my contract extension, I also think he has the cojones to say, you know what, this season I'm going to do enough, and this team is going to improve so much this season that Sabonis is going to want to come back, Harrison Barnes is going to want to come back. Like, this team, by the end of this year, they're going to want to stay together. That's what I'm building here in Sacramento. I think McNair has that kind of confidence. He has to, his team has to do the talking for him at this point, but I think he has the confidence that what he's building here is going to be sustainable because the players are going to want to sustain it.
Yeah. Nah, I can't say enough about what Monty's done.
Whoa. Oh, Rudy Gobert is headed to Minnesota.
What?
What? The Utah Jazz are trading Rudy Gobert to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
I did him with the Kobe gift on that one.
What is that?
So what is that? D'Angelo Russell? Like,
it's got to be D'Lo.
Because it's not Cat.
Russell and Donovan Mitchell together?
It's not Cat. It's not going to be Ant. It's got to be D'Angelo Russell.
It's got to be D'Lo.
This is irresponsible. How do you tweet Utah is trading Rudy Gobert to Minnesota, and then that's the tweet? How do you tweet that?
You got to take some lessons about how to break news from Damian Barling. That's what you got to do. Damian put everything in the tweet right there. We knew the contract. We knew the years. We knew the guy was coming. Congratulations to you on that, D'Lo, and congratulations to James Ham too. One of the things I said on Locked On Kings, and I've been celebrating it all week, local sports journalists breaking local sports stories is the way to go. It's absolutely the best way to go. And it's phenomenal that James Ham got the scoop on DiVincenzo. It's phenomenal that you got the scoop on Malik Monk. That's the way it should be, and local journalists should always celebrate that. I think it's phenomenal for Sacramento.
And you know what I learned? You know what we learned? No one cares. Because no one has their push notifications on for Damian Barling, D'Lo at KC, or ESPN 1320. So shout out to the crew that was in here yesterday and retweeted it. Plus, I think we beat Shams by like 45 seconds. So like no one was D'Lo had it first. No one cared. So that was a lesson yesterday. No one cares.
Well, for Shams and Woj, 45 seconds is an eternity. So even if the general public doesn't believe that, you best believe Shams was, who the hell is this D'Lo guy?
Yeah, you're damn right. I'm in their head.
D'Lo is.
I'm waiting for my 8-figure offer on ESPN. Who is he being traded for?
What did he do wrong? Oh, there we go.
Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverly, Walker Kessler, Jared Vanderbilt, and multiple first-round picks for Rudy Gobert.
What are the Jazz doing?
I think that's a bad trade all around.
I need Patrick Beverly's live reaction. I need a camera on Patrick Beverly right now.
That's a bad trade all around.
You said
what is this?
I'm not feeling it.
Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns?
Yeah. But look what they got back. Yo, Donovan Mitchell watch is on.
Oh my God.
Donovan Mitchell watch is
on. Oh my God.
That's what I need to see a live reaction of right now.
Oh man.
I need to see what Donovan talking about.
Hey, Will Hardy, we're thinking about you, buddy, because boy, they are making life difficult on you. Rudy Gobert headed to Minnesota in exchange for Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverly, Walker Kessler. These sounds like Walker Kessler is a baseball player. Jared Vanderbilt and multiple first-round picks, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. As we get the details on those picks, of course, we will pass them along. My goodness.
Okay, so how big of a jump do the T-Wolves think this gives them in the standings, and how big of a jump does it actually give them in the standings?
Might give them one slot.
Like, I think the T-Wolves think this vaults them into the top 4 conversation. I almost guarantee you. I haven't even seen T-Wolf fan reactions. I guarantee you that, like, we got our defensive anchor now with Cat and Ant and D'Lo, like, or D-Russ. We're going.
They might get to 5. They finished 7th last year, right?
They finished 7th at 46-36, 2 games behind Denver.
They might get to 7. Or excuse me, get to 5. Maybe 4.
Maybe 3.
No,
maybe 2.
Where are you going at?
There's everything
goes right, they get to 4.
There's a considerable difference between 7 and 4, though. Dallas finished 52-30, and Minnesota finished 46-36.
I'll put it to them like this: they ain't gonna be better than the Warriors, the Suns, the Mavericks, or the Clippers. Oh, throw the Nuggets in there too.
Well, so Donovan Mitchell. Jesse says Miami. Where's Donovan Mitchell going to play?
It could be a Miami move. It could be a Miami move. He got to be gone though. He's got to be gone.
I can't. What was the Quinn Snyder unsettled? Was that the line? What was the Donovan Mitchell line? I wonder how he feels today. Though I would think Gobert out would make him happy. I don't know how happy he is with the return though. Matt, we will keep you long, but I know you got to go. You got a podcast to go host, and then you got to go to work, man. We thank you so much, Matt George, Lost on Kings, ABC.